Are aftermarket water pumps a problem on your classic Mercedes? This is a water pump from a Mercedes 560 SEL. And we're going to talk about this video and this water pump in another video after this. But first off, I wanted to start off this video by talking about these pumps and some of their inherent problems, and then talking about whether it's okay to use an aftermarket replacement. And so Mercedes-Benz designed these relatively lightweight aluminum pumps for their V8 engines. And a pump like this was used on all of the V8s, starting with the 350 and 450 models with the M116 and M117, 980, 981, and 982 engines, all the way up to the R129 models that had 119 engines. And so any 116 and 117 variant used a version of this pump. But this design was considered to be a good design. It has a large impeller, has a relatively small pulley drive, and it has pretty good channeling for water flow. But depending on the model that you have, some models are more sensitive to having a weak water pump than others. So the problem that we run into more often than not is that when people use aftermarket water pumps, they don't cool. And so this pump came off of my friend Chris's 560 SEL AMG, which is a car that needs all the help it can get. And what we noticed was that it was a Graf pump. You see how it says tested here? This is usually something that Graf puts on their pumps, meaning that they know that the pump doesn't leak. So that's really helpful. But there's another problem with some of these Graf pumps, and that's the impeller clearance to the body. And what I'm talking about is the clearance of this impeller to the aluminum housing. And doesn't look like much. If you look at it, it's hard to get a camera deep in here. But if you look at it, the clearance is something like 1.75 to 2 millimeters. The problem is that when you have really hot coolant that is under pressure that doesn't want to flow through an engine, that becomes a lot of clearance. And the clearance that we actually want is 1 millimeter or less. That's what you're going to get with a Mercedes pump, but not with an aftermarket pump. Now, the aftermarket pump manufacturers used to make okay pumps, like Lasso and HEPA or HEPU or whatever it was, used to make pretty good pumps. And then they had these Graf pumps that were Italian. And initially they were okay. They got their clearances pretty good. But as time went on and manufacturing, discrepancies caught up and different people running it that, remember that nobody that built this pump is driving a 560 SEL. Nobody that built this pump ever had to work on the engineering team for the 560 SEL. They just want to make a pump that fits and doesn't leak. The question is, though, is the pump going to perform? And when you start to slip and your tolerance is like this is where you start to lose cooling ability. Now, these cooling issues can manifest in several ways. They can manifest with the car running too hot all the time. They can manifest with the car running too hot over 3,000 RPM when the fan clutch kicks off. They can manifest with the pump running too hot when it's been driving for a long time with the AC on and high temps. But my friend Jamie, who's been sorting out a 280 SE 4.5 that he recently rebuilt the engine on, told me that he had put an aftermarket pump on his 4.5, and then after driving the car during break-in and observing that the engine temps were up around, 100 Celsius almost all the time during prolonged driving with the air on, he took that pump off and put a Mercedes pump on, and that fixed it. And so that tells me that there is indeed a difference, because what we had was a sterilized engine block, a perfectly clean record radiator. We had the correct coolant, we had a new thermostat, but the water pump was the one variable that was making the car run warmer than it was supposed to. Now, this impeller issue is not as much of a problem on the 4, 5, and 6-cylinder Mercedes engines, but on the V8 engines, where a lot of heat is a is an issue, it becomes a big deal. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up. Now, on the M110, M130, M129 engines, which are 6-cylinder engines, one thing that we have noticed is when we use a genuine Mercedes pump, those temperatures do go way down. They go from 88, 89, 90 Celsius to 81 or 82. So there is a difference there as well. And so that's why I think spending the extra money, I think this pump is around $200 and something dollars. Spending the extra $100 or so for a pump is not a bad idea. Now, I have used aftermarket pumps before in a pinch when I've needed them. And again, they will get you from point A to point B. Just don't expect the cooling system performance. Anyway, if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and tap the bell for notifications. And then in the next video, we're going to talk about these pumps, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to use one of these pumps to fix a hot running 380 or 500 SEL. And hopefully you guys will get a lot out of that. So stay tuned for the next video. Thank you so much.